I've been using bots to trade crypto since 2019, and I've learned a ton about what bots are great, what strategies are great, and my guess is that a lot of you have heard of these things called grid bots. Whether it's through Pionex, which you get free access to using grid bots, or it's the 3Commas, or even using an exchange like Bybit. Grid bots are an interesting way to take advantage of sideways price action, but are they worth it? Are they effective? Is it worth using futures with a grid bot? I'm going to be sharing all of my thoughts and my experiences using grid bots in today's video. And if you've never ever seen my face before, hold up, hit the subscribe button, buckle up, we're going to get into it. My name is Aaron Dishner from The Better Traders, and you are watching Coin Bureau Trading. Subscribe to join me and Dan, and also Gabby, who's our newest addition, who's doing live streaming on this channel. So we're actually going to go over here to Pionex because I want to use this as a visual explanation of how it works. Essentially, when we get consolidation, which is when the price is moving sideways, the price is going to go up and down all over the place. And when we see these different levels of buy and sell orders being triggered, the bot's going to buy as it falls and it's going to sell as it bounces. Now, this sounds insanely, stupidly easy. Why wouldn't everyone want to do this? Well, the reality is that grid bots work really well in very specific market conditions, and that's sideways markets. They don't work so well in trending markets. They don't work so well in bearish markets, but they work really well in a sideways market. And there are specific times to run these as well. The one thing I will say about grid bots, one of the big reasons why I personally don't use them, even though I tested them out and I've literally tried my best to use grid bots, but one of the reasons why I don't use them is because most grid bots don't have an effective exit strategy. And what I mean by that is when we have a rectangular zone that the grid bot is running in, eventually the price is going to break to the upside or to the downside. And if you're using a grid bot that's in a static range, it's not going to be moving, and the price falls lower, you're buying, and then you're just holding as the hand just keeps going down through the floor all the way to the center of the earth, because that's what a lot of crypto charts do. Let's invert that. We have a rectangular zone, and then all of a sudden, we get all these bullish rockets firing on our timeline. Charts are pumping higher and higher, and that means the grid bot leaves our zone. And now all the trading that we've been taking advantage of in a sideways range is now not being used. So if we decide to follow it up, cool, that's great. And eventually we're going to hit a top zone and then it's going to fall. The problem with a lot of grid bots, in my experience, is that they don't have really good mechanisms for taking profit or trailing, except for one platform. And it's not Pionex, it's not 3Commas, it's not Bybit either. It's Altrady. One of the two great things that I like about Altrady's grid bots are their ability for taking profit and using stop losses, so that way if the price goes out of that rectangular grid, you can decide to sell everything when the price dumps, so that way you're preserving or protecting your portfolio, or you can decide to take profit and you can buy when it exits the grid, so that way you don't miss out on the big move. Another thing that's really great is that they have the ability to trail up and down. Now, this is dangerous because if the chart is trailing down and it's just going lower and lower, yes, it will buy more as the price goes down and it will sell on the bounces, but you run the risk of it trailing down to zero, potentially, depending on the chart. Trailing to the upside works really well, but I've already explained that there can be some difficulties about reaching a top zone and then the price losing 70 to 80% of its value. Now, what about futures grid bots? Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you've seen some wild gains, maybe you've actually seen other videos of people here on YouTube talking about how they're making $1 gajillion using futures grid bots. I want to help you understand something about them first. The grid bot is designed to buy and to sell. The moment you introduce leverage, you introduce the risk of being liquidated. Think about it. If your bot is buying as the price goes down and you're using 10x long, well, your grid bot can really only stomach about 10% drawdown until one of those positions gets liquidated. And if you're buying more and more as the price goes down, unable to reduce your position by selling on the upside, then you're basically in risk of liquidation. Whether it's a long grid bot or a short grid bot, you are going to risk liquidation. Yes, you can use a smaller amount of your portfolio, less risk, and okay, if it gets liquidated, oh well, but there's a promise of huge gains. I get it. It sounds amazing. But leverage is really best left to swing trading or scalping, where you have a fixed entry, a fixed exit, whether it's a take profit target or a stop loss. This is my opinion. This is my experience. Other people might have a really cool, fancy schmancy idea of how to use these futures grid bots, but every single time I've looked at them and I've tried them, it's just burned me. So that's just my honest opinion. I know it's going to ruffle a lot of feathers as well, because every one of you has your own opinion, but some of you have had a good experience with it. Good for you. But for most people that don't understand leverage, it may look amazing because the percentages that are promised look incredible. Just take a deep breath there, because there is a lot of inherent risk. Now, we need to talk about how to set up a grid bot. And we're going to go over here to Altrady, because we can actually set up a grid bot really easily with all their 13 supported exchanges, whether it's on spot or futures. So all of you that love trading futures with grid bots, you can still do it, even though I don't recommend it personally. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my paper trading account. I'm going to choose BTC USDT just because it's a nice, easy chart that a lot of us are familiar with. And one of the cool things is that right away, this bot is going to plot out a level at which to start. So it's basically picking here, and we have a top zone here of, what is this all the way here? $139,000, and then a low just below the low that we saw back over here in April. Now, remember what I said, that there's a good time to start a grid bot and a not so great time? Personally, I would never want to start a grid bot up here for Bitcoin. It's at the top of its range. We're nearing the end of this bull market. This is a risky time. If I really had to pick and choose a time and someone had a gun to my head and said, you need to run a grid bot, I would really like to wait until we've reached a market bottom. So if we have some sort of range like this, and I think this would be a reasonable range. And this is all green because it's all biased because it's below the current price. But think of it this way. If I'm starting a grid bot down here at the bottom of the range, yes, the price could just as easily go below my range, and I can choose to get stopped out, or I could just let it run. But the reality is that when we've hit a market low for Bitcoin specifically, we could run a grid bot to take advantage of all the sideways price action. And we don't really know when the bear market will end. We might have some good ideas, we might see some signals, but the reality is that running a grid bot during this time means that we're actually doing really well. The grid bot will be running, let's say, for approximately 488 days, almost 500 days, which is great. A year and a half, a year and a quarter is a good amount of time to be running a grid bot. But how much money can you actually feasibly make with a grid bot? Well, let's actually look at that right now. We're going to go over here and we're going to reset this, especially the upper price. We're going to choose 20% above the current price, 20% below the current price as our grid. And I want you to see how things are laid out here. So despite this being not the optimal time, I want to explain quickly the mechanics of running a grid bot and why this works. But before I do, I want to recommend something to you first before we get into the nitty-gritty, into the weeds. There are fantastic links that you can sign up for. Now, if you do want to sign up for Bybit to use their free built-in ones, which they do have a spot grid bot over here that you can use on the exchange, we actually have links for you to sign up for Bybit, for 2Bit, for CoinCatch. Both of these are non-KYC requiring exchanges. CoinCatch doesn't have a grid bot last time I checked. 2Bit, I believe, does, but I believe it's futures only. Bybit, you have spot and futures. So if you sign up, you get these extra bonuses. Plus, there are more deals available when you click this button right here. It takes you to the Coin Bureau website. Of course, you should join the Coin Bureau Club. It is a great community where Dan, my co-host, is posting, as well as Nick and Guy on the main Coin Bureau channel. Lots of alpha, lots of information. There are other exchanges to sign up for, but of course, there is 10% off of our course at thebettertraders.com, 15 minutes to financial freedom, which comes with one-on-one coaching. It comes with automated, and it comes with active trading strategies focusing on the Altrady platform. No, I don't teach GridBot in this course, and you'll understand why in a minute. So we're going to go back over here to Altrady to talk about this idea of how a GridBot really works when it works well. When we're running and setting up a GridBot, one thing that we want to take advantage of is a sideways range. And if we're choosing or we're electing to start a grid bot right here, again, I wouldn't really want to run one right here, but a couple of things that we need to consider are how many grids we're using, which it says number of placed orders, and the profit per step. This is really important. Think about it this way. Every single buy and sell that you make for your exchange, you're charged a trading fee. And that trading fee is going to vary between, 0.1% to maybe like 0.15 or 0.2%, depending on the exchange. Now, there are some markets that will give you better deals depending on your exchange. Sure, I get it. And of course, if you're using futures, you could leverage that so that you're using less and you're not being charged as much, possibly, maybe. But you do have to take into account trading fees. Every time you have this profit per step, you should subtract about 0.1%. So really, the potential profit per step could be 0.54 to 0.95. Now, why is the profit per step different? Why is it showing that it's 0.64 to 1.05? Well, that's because as the price of Bitcoin goes higher, the amount of, the space here in this grid right here is only about 0.64. And it's measuring as 0.8 because it's not exact on the nose. But if I were to measure this lowest one to the next grid, it's going to be closer to 1.5%. And it looks like they're actually padding this on purpose. Good for them. So this is actually going to be realized profit per step. Good job, Altrady. The other thing to consider as well is the number of placed orders. And that's going to determine how active or how busy your bot is. If I want to put in 80 orders, your grid bot's going to be on fire. It's going to go crazy. And you know what? If I want to focus on a super tight range, like 10% and 10%, this thing's going to be on fire. But look at my profit per step, only 0.03% to 0.08. You're actually going to be losing money running a bot with a really tight grid. It's going to look really cool. You're going to get lots of notifications, but it's not going to be a very profitable bot because it's in an extremely tight zone and it's going to be ineffective. And actually, we can backtest the difference. So we're going to go here to the backtest function right here, and we are going to choose this same thing. We're going to use a test investment size of $1,000, and we're going to run it right here. We're going to use this setup, and we are going to backtest it. And we need to start, from May 21st. That's the furthest back that we can go. So we're going to run a backtest. And after this backtest is done, we're going to see all these really cool arrows that are showing us, wow, there's so many buys, so many sells. And the further back you go, of course, the longer it's going to take for it to generate all the information. So after it's done, then we can actually see how profitable is this? Well, the net profit of running a grid bot on BTC USDT with a super tight grid of 80 placed orders with basically no wiggle room whatsoever, you're eking out 2%. So if your goal is to take advantage of really, really crazy tight price action in sideways markets, then you might get out all right. But again, it's taking you how many trades? And think of all of the fees as well. So when we're looking at this one specifically, we want to open this guy right here. It's going to actually show us all of this buy and sell action. It looks cool. Trust me. But let's actually go down into the data right here, because this is going to be much more revealing. Now, the main thing we have to understand running this bot, we do have a realized P&L of 2.5%. It's a little bit small. Actually, let me go ahead. This thing is so thick, it's making my computer chug down. But there's also an unrealized profit, meaning that we're holding on to some coins that haven't yet sold. We can see that we've invested $9,742 and we've recovered $9,613. So the remaining amount is $128. We've generated so much in trading fees with this strategy that it's not that great. But we can also see from this initial one too, that even a really tight grid, it's not going to work out so well. So let's go back to the idea of having 40 placed orders, or even actually a lot less. Let's even do just 25. Now we're seeing a much tighter range. We're going to still use 10 and 10 just to see a comparison of this. We're going to use the same amount, same starting time. We're going to go back to the earliest possible date of May 21st, and we're going to see which one is actually going to be more profitable. And what's ridiculous Here we go. This is our most final one. We actually make more with less. Gasp. Now we're going to see far less when it comes to all of the candles up here once it updates the information. And we basically just have a wash right now of all this stuff. But we can see here that we've made less total trades and we have a little bit more profit to show for it. We've used a lot less money, which means less trading fees. So we're doing okay. So using this as a tool to guesstimate what might be a really good market, what might be a really good range, it really helps us to be able to backtest performance. Now, there's one more thing I want to share with you. I want to X out of this to explain one more concept that's really important to consider when you're running a grid bot. Now, when you're running a grid bot like this, and this is the crazy one with 80 orders, let's reduce it just because it's hurting my head right now. Let's just do 25. One thing you have to consider is that in order to sell for a grid bot like this, you have to buy. So if you decide to start a grid bot right now, and you're going to buy Bitcoin at $104,276 buying it here means you are having to wait until the price shoots up about 1% to sell or fall about 0.42% to buy more. But the thing to consider is that this is going to be your break-even price right here. So that means as the price goes up and down, and let me zoom out for a 4-hour time frame. If we're buying here and we're buying more and more and more as the price goes down, then obviously we are buying more, but that means that our initial investment is down 10%. Eventually, as the price goes sideways and chops, yes, you'll be able to inch your break even a little bit lower, but really it's going to stay around here. It's not going to function the same way as a DCA bot will at all. You'll be able to take advantage of all these dips and these rips, which could be good, especially if you have a really wide grid like this. So what's to stop us from supposing that, well, I think Bitcoin's going to go up to a lot higher. Let's say, and let's just use my estimated target of 173K. Well, what about using a grid bot to basically buy the dip as the price falls down? Let's say that I think that the price of Bitcoin is going to bottom next year at about 50K or around there. So I could actually run a grid bot just like this. I could say, well, I think the price is going to be going up here and I'm going to be able to sell on the way up, buying here and selling. That's fine. That could kind of work. But understand that the greater the grids and where you start it, your profit's going to be very slow going. It will automatically buy and sell for you, whether it's dipping or ripping, which could be kind of attractive, but understand that there also runs the risk of this being the top right here. There's no guarantee. And again, if we have the price of Bitcoin shooting up, where's my price range? If we have the price of Bitcoin only going up here to 133,000 and it starts buying at 128, then that means all the Bitcoin that you're buying on the pullback, you're going to keep buying as the price falls down 60% or more. If you're a long-term Bitcoin, then it shouldn't really matter. But if you're a short-term trader, that's going to sting because you're buying all this Bitcoin way up here and you're holding it. Maybe you'll be able to sell some, but remember, you're buying and selling over and over. The other thing to consider about this too is what pairs you select, or as Altrady likes to say it, what markets you want to select. Not every coin is great for running a grid bot. You need to exercise caution. And on the off chance that the price actually goes above here and you just want to cancel all of your orders, or you want to convert it into USDT, or you want to convert it into Bitcoin, you can do that here when you're using Altrady, which is awesome. So basically, I can have my take profit target, boom. And I can also have a stop loss. In case the price falls below this range, I just want to stop this. I want to cancel all orders. It has to be below the lowest price, of course. But in case things get really nasty, I just want to sell everything. I want to convert everything into stable coins because I don't want to run the bot. So this is what I'm talking about, having an exit strategy in mind. This is really where Altrady shines. I really hope that I've done my best to summarize how a grid bot works. And again, they thrive the best in sideways markets. And we all know crypto rarely stays sideways for a long period of time. But for those of you that are still interested in using a grid bot, consider first where you're starting the bot. You might be anxious and excited to start one right now, but zoom out to the weekly time frame. Where is the price compared to where it was before? If it's near the bottom of its range, can you stomach for it to go lower and wait for it to go up? You could still make some good money, but you need to pay attention where you're starting it. And again, consider using spot instead of futures. You could make more money with futures, but you run a massive risk, especially starting a long futures spot at the very top of the range. You could do a short futures spot, but that also runs a risk of getting liquidated too if charts all of a sudden pump out of nowhere. Whereas with spot, you have a lot more flexibility. You can weather the drawdown, especially if you have long-term vision for your bots. Now, this video is not meant to answer every single question you have. So that's what the comment section is for down below. Let me know what your burning questions are from this video. Let me know what you think about this. And if you feel like I've left out some information, go ahead and share it down below, as well as your experiences using a grid bot. But in my opinion, Altrady has the best grid bots because you can backtest, you can set an exit strategy, and you can trail if you want to keep running that grid bot going up or down. And you can use Bybit with Altrady's grid bots. But again, let me know what you think down below. And until the next time, you know what to do. Stay awesome and stay in the green. Peace.